In our last video, we started working this image by creating nested smart objects. However, we still have some more work to do on this image. So let's get started. At this time, we need to apply the Unsharp Mask filter to the smart object by choosing Filter, Sharpen, Unsharp Mask. Let's go with an amount of 125 and a radius of 1. That is fine for starters, but we should add a mask that allows the sharpening to be applied only to the edges in the image. In other words, we need an edge mask. Since creating an edge mask is a bit of work and is beyond the scope of this tutorial, I've already created one. We can access the mask by choosing Select, Load Selection. We want the Sharpen selection. Now, all we need to do is click on the filter mask to make sure that it is selected and press Ctrl Backspace on a PC or Command Delete on a Mac to create the mask. Finally, pressing Ctrl D on a PC or Command D on a Mac will delete the selection. That applied a very gentle sharpening, which is exactly what we needed at this point. Okay, where do we go from here? I know, I think that a curves layer to add some contrast and a hue saturation layer to add a small amount of saturation would work well. At this point, we would normally interpolate the image to its print size and apply a final sharpening. However, to save time, we will skip the interpolation and go straight to the final sharpening, which will be a high-pass sharpening. However, we cannot just apply the high-pass filter to the red rock layer because we do not want the edge mask applied to the high-pass filter. What are we to do? We just create another smart object that contains all of these layers and apply the high-pass filter to that smart object. How do we do that? Simple. We select all of these layers and choose Layer, Smart Objects, Convert to Smart Object. So we have a new smart object. Thus, we now have 3 layers of smart objects. In other words, a smart object within a smart object within a smart object. We are now ready to apply the high-pass filter to our newest smart object by choosing Filter, Other, High Pass, and setting the radius to 2. Our last step is to change the blend mode by clicking the blending options icon and changing the blend mode to overlay. While we are at it, let's decrease the opacity to about 50%. There you have it, 3 layers of smart objects. If necessary, we could go back and adjust any of the filters to fine-tune the image. That brings us to the end of our Smart Objects techniques. We have covered a lot of material in this Smart Objects video series, so before we wind it all up, why don't we do a little review? In fact, let's do that in the last video in this series.